A BYD Shark, after 8 months of ownership, 25,000 Ks, is it any good? I'm going to let you know what I reckon. So this is going to be very conversational. Overall, I absolutely love the BYD Shark 6. And I bought this outright if you didn't already know. So I don't give a stuff what BYD think, okay? I really do love this vehicle. I love the look of the vehicle. I love the presence. It's a physically big vehicle. Now this has got a 45mm lift in it, but it's physically got presence on the road. I love the driving. Like, I've done 25,000 Ks. I've done 1,500 kilometers in one day in this vehicle, and it's comfortable. It's a pleasure to drive. The feature comforts in the cab, you know, the heating and cooled seats, the sound system, the interior presence, everything's just really, really nice, and it's comfortable to be in for long times and long distances. It has got some serious negatives, and I'll get to some of those. So let's start at the front of the vehicle and go through some of them. So I've got a set of the Ultravision Raptor lights on the front. These are a brilliant budget light, but the Ironman bull bar, which BYD supply, and that's a factory bull bar, that there is not solidly mounted. It's just got some bolts under here, and you can move it. So that means that the lights wobble when you're on the roads, on rough roads. That sucks. I love the look of the bar though. I think it's a really nice stylish bar to my eye. This is the first BYD Shark with a winch fitted to it, and in my opinion, if you plan to go four-wheel driving with a BYD Shark, fit a winch. Because off-road, this thing is better than you expect, but it's no four-wheel drive. So it goes places, and it's like, a number of times I'm like, wow, I didn't expect it to get there. But then other times it'll be like, it just says, no, I don't want to do that. And you're like, no, please. Oh, I'm not doing it. It gets stubborn. And so I get the winch out and I tell it what we're doing. So that's why I would suggest you fit a winch to the vehicle. So if you want to find out how to fit a winch to the BYD Shark, the way I did it, there might be better ways now, is in the video that we've linked to this video. Now the next thing that I did, which was the worst thing I think you could do to a BYD Shark, I fitted a set of mud tyres. And that's because, for me, I bought this vehicle to see what it's like off-road. I wasn't really worried about on-road economy and all of those sort of things. It was like, what's this thing do off-road? That was my sole focus. So I put a set of the Maxxis Razor MTs on there. Great tyre. They've done a superb job. No punctures, no issues. They're wearing really well, considering it's got an IFS in the rear end, which, if you know about the Y62 Patrols, they have tyre wear issues. This does do that a little bit, but overall they're doing really well. So that was a great concept, but they suck the fuel. These make this thing drink juice for sure. So there's that element specific to the BYD Shark. Now the next thing is, because I do a lot of night driving, with filming, oftentimes you do your filming during the day and then you still got to do 500 Ks at night, and so you drive into the night, or you're up early and you're driving in the early hours of the morning. And in Australia, you know what that means, kangaroos. Now, as you know, it doesn't matter what you can see, kangaroos still seem to be able to find your vehicle. And I've had 5 kangaroo strikes with this vehicle, which sucked. One of them was on my very first trip as well. And like, I saw the roo and I was slowing down and it was like, no, I'm gonna hit ya. And it hit me. And one of the things with the Sharks is the body panels, and I think a lot of modern vehicles are like this, the body panels are relatively thin. And it's to keep weight down, and it's all of that sort of stuff. But it meant that all 4 doors on this car, plus a rear quarter, got dented from these kangaroos. Now I've had it all repaired. So there's no dents in it now, and it was done professionally. Okay, so, you know, the vehicles, because I want to sell this. What I was going to say though, the repairer, he said, this is the first one he'd worked on, he's like, this thing is so well built. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, even taking these scuff panels off the doors, he's like, 2 screws, they clip off, all the clips come out, they don't break. He was just singing the praises of the build quality of the BYD. And my experience is the same, and it goes against everything we think of when you're supporting the CCP. It's like, you know, this thing's going to be cheap and nasty, and it's going to be poorly built. Honestly, I can't say that about this vehicle. I would like to keep this Shark. I just have no need for it anymore. If I could keep it, I think confidently you'd do 200,000 Ks with this vehicle. I think it's actually going to have a longer life than that. That's my feeling. Obviously, I can't prove that. Let's move to the back of the vehicle. Now, this is more about how I set the vehicle up, but I used a Bushwhacker rooftop tent. I had the HSP Load Rack Junior, which I fitted up. That kit fitted up so easy. It was like an hour job to pull it out of the box and it was on the car and ready to go. So I totally loved that. I also have the HSP Load Rack in the tray. I reckon that's a great setup because the thing about the BYD Shark is this tub is actually quite large, and that's great because I had this thing full when I was touring, primarily full of fuel. I think I had about 180 litres in jerry cans in here. What was it, 8 jerry cans, whatever that works out at. 160, there you go, 160 litres of jerry cans in the back. So that's a fair lump, and the load rack was able to hold that and support that. So I would totally recommend doing that because getting to some of the stuff up in the front of the tub, if you've got to come in through the tailgate, is going to be difficult, but with the load rack, works really good. So having a large tub, I think that's the go, because there's nothing worse than not being able to fit everything in. But the downside is they don't have a huge payload. Now, saying this is probably going to upset a few people, but the reality is, a lot of my trips, I was probably over GBM. The thing is, I never weighed myself, so I can't say that for sure. I'm only guessing. Sitting here right now, this vehicle weighs around about 3.4, 3.5 tonne. It's heavy, 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 heavy. So here, let's talk about the fuel economy. For me, fuel economy wasn't what I was concerned about, fuel range was. It's only got a 60 litre petrol tank, so range is my biggest challenge. If you want to use this vehicle for touring on a regular basis, it ain't gonna work. There are companies out there that are making long range fuel tanks for them now, and that would help you, but they're not really gonna suit you for that need. Here's the way to think about it though. People always think in the traditional sense of fuel range with a vehicle because no matter where you go, the fuel usage is high. With the Shark, you've got to look at it through this lens. You've got to look at it total cost of ownership. So spread out your costs to buy petrol over 12 months. This thing is going to cost you almost nothing. Why is that? Well, if you're charging off solar at home, which I can do, and drive around on basically sun power, and you drive the kids to school, or you're just a project manager or a plumber and you just work in your local area, driving around town, 60, 70, 80 K an hour most of the time, this thing is so economical and it's built for that purpose. But then let's say once or twice a year you go on a big trip and you do say 2,000 kilometres. Well, you're going to burn a bunch of fuel doing that. But when you spread that out over the year, the cost of fuel for the year might only be $1,000, $2,000. So in that sense, this thing is so cheap to run. So you've got to understand how it works and then use it within its design parameters. And if you do that, this is so economical to run, it's not funny. And it's got extended life servicing as well. So I got this serviced at 15,000 Ks. The next service is due at 40,000 Ks. So again, that's pretty good going in my mind. Let's talk a little bit about under the vehicle. So because it's got such a long wheelbase and it doesn't have a traditional driveline, it's got an electric motor up front, an electric motor up back in simple terms. When you go off-road and say a sand dune and you belly out on the sand dune, you're pretty much going to get stuck because of the way the driveline works. It'll dig holes and belly itself. That kind of sucks. That's why I say you need the winch if you're going to start pushing this off-road. It's incredibly capable in the sand, but when it brings you undone, you're undone in a big way. Because the motors don't generate a significant amount of torque in and of themselves, when I was using tread boards a couple of times, I actually couldn't use the tread boards to get out of the bogging situation because the motors wouldn't generate enough torque to get me through. So I still ended up winching. In a traditional four-wheel drive, I would have been able to get out of the situation. Now, if you haven't seen the content already and you want to really take a deep dive into understanding a lot more about the shark, well, I've done 2 series. One is a fuel range series and there's 2 episodes, and then there's a 5-part series where I was the first person to take a BYD shark across the Simpson Desert. And that's a great fun episode. I did it with my mate Lucas, and it shows the shark really what it can do and how well it actually does go off-road as long as you understand its limitations. Let's talk about the electrical system from a camping perspective. It's awesome. Okay, first thing is you've got a V2L, vehicle to load device that you can plug in here, and then you've got 240 volt power points and you can just run stuff off of that. Now, because I fitted a winch to the vehicle, I have a battery in here. This is cool. Okay, so I've got a battery here and that's running the fridge at the moment. And then I've got a BC-DC charger up here, which is running off the car's 12 volt battery. Stay with me. The big battery under the car, the 29 kilowatt battery, makes sure that the 12 volt battery stays charged up. So I've parked this car probably well over a week, leaving the fridge running, and the main battery under there charges that battery charges this battery, and the fridge keeps running. And after over a week of sitting there in the sun running, I come back to the car and I might have lost 2 or 3% out of the main battery. So basically what that means is you don't need any other battery systems. And if I was doing this again, I'd probably have a slightly smaller battery in here, one that's capable of running the winch, but relatively small. One caution I'd give you, I do not think it would be wise to ever connect a winch directly up to the lithium battery under the seat of the vehicle. I think that would be a very dangerous thing to do, because the lithium battery under the seat is not designed to carry the sort of amperage and load that a winch is going to pull through it. But with this battery here, we isolate it from that issue. The next thing is, in the tub we've got the 3 2100 watt 240 volt outlets. I found they were great as well. Like, we want to use an induction cooktop to cook lunch, easy done. So from my perspective, you really don't need to go to expensive lithium battery systems or any fancy systems with this vehicle setup. I'm just really impressed with how much power you have available to you when it comes to camping. And the last thing I fitted up was my GME UHF XRS radio. I made a custom little bracket here out of some stainless steel that mounts up to the Load Rack Junior. That's been working an absolute treat, and for me, I can lower it down if I needed to, and a couple of times I did. So overall, I think if you buy a BYD Shark and understand how to use it, you're going to love it. It's a great vehicle. I've absolutely loved owning it, and I would love to keep it. I can't, but I would have loved to have kept it. All right guys, I'm Mad Matt. Stay safe on the trails.